go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
#Faith Radio.
Playing around with a bad football team, bad things happen.
Roughing the passer.
Ooh! It's a covenant cleanup.
Hey, good morning and a happy Friday to you. Welcome to the Great Minnesota Get-Together, Day 2 of the State Fair at the old Great Minnesota Clump Together. And this is 9 to noon at KFAN. The happy faces we see rolling in are so very inspiring. Families laughing and displaying genuine joy over what's to come. Perhaps their one and only day at the State Fair. And, you know, there are a bunch of groups that may have like just $100 to spend between 5 people, but they don't care. It's something unique. They're together, and for maybe 5 hours or so, some worldly troubles are outside these gates. And we welcome you to the 9 to noon presentation. The producer is Eric Nordquist, and I'm Paul Allen, and it's great to be with you all. Chad Greenway, former linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings, should be here very soon. Paul Charch of the fantasy football variety, he should be in tow. And with 9 to noon beginning yesterday, the tail has been wagging the dog in the early stages of the Great Minnesota Clump Together. And here they are. Make a case for Breece Hall being the number 1 selection in fantasy football drafts. And good morning.
Good morning. Hopefully Charch is listening and can back me up once he finally gets here. PA, can we just pretend that Christian McCaffrey doesn't exist? Is that part of making the case in terms of top picks or
no? But an option,
Tyreek Hill.
An option is we cannot make a case for Breece Hall being the first overall pick in drafts.
Well, I would say this, fantasy football fans. This is straight from the lips of Charch through me. Are you ready to do the opposite of doing the opposite, which is technically doing the opposite, or it's normal?
Right.
Confused. Listen to Fantasy Football Weekly. Breece Hall, it's going to be tough to make this case, and there's probably not a great case for it. But he had 1,600 total yards. He had 9 touchdowns last year, PA.
Right. Hey.
And that was with
McCaffrey as a calf.
That was with a slew of backup quarterbacks. It was Zach Wilson. It was Tim Boyle, who needed to be lanced. A myriad issues with this team. But Aaron Rodgers is back. Aaron Rodgers loves throwing to his backs. Mm-hmm. And with Rodgers in the mix, everything gets better.
Keep talking yourself into it.
There's going to be more opportunity. He had 76 receptions. He had 95 targets last year, PA. And so he could be poised to be Aaron Rodgers' second highest targeted receiver or pass catcher after Garrett Wilson. And that's even Mike Williams is there now, but he's off the ACL. Just pretend McCaffrey doesn't exist, however. Or you're worried about the health. He had 339 touches in the Bay for Shanahan last year. Maybe he gets nicked up. He does currently have an ailing leg. And based on projected win totals, the Jets have the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL versus the Niners. Now, these guys open the season against each other, but things get easier for the Jets. The Niners playing a first-place slate. I only believed about half of what I just said there. It's very difficult to make a case. McCaffrey is who he is.
I'm with you.
Tyreek Hill down there, the cheetah doing his thing. He's going to get 150, 160 targets and a ton of TDs.
The reason I laid it out.
Hardcore football.
Is McCaffrey has a calf injury, but he's going to be fine. Generally speaking, you see Paul Charchi and GuillotineLeagues.com. He's an elite fantasy football mind, but we are elite reality football minds. So we recognize, generally speaking, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is being taken 2nd or 3rd in a lot of fantasy football drafts. The same CeeDee Lamb who hasn't seen a football field in quite some time. That sounds like some type of a tissue injury in the early stages of the equation. And Breece Hall's the absolute bomb, so it would be doing the opposite of the opposite, and we absolutely love that approach.
Football feast.
Make a case for the Vikings And safety Lewis Seen. Lewis Seen making the final 53 for the Minnesota Football Vikings.
The only case that I have, and I root for Lewis Seen, first-round pick. We want first-round picks to work out.
Yeah.
We want good people to work out. Lewis Seen, by all accounts, is a tremendous dude. But whether it was the injury that he suffered at Tottenham a few years ago,
yeah,
and then whether it was his inability to crack the starting roster before the injury, and then just a lack of productivity throughout the year last year, this is a really difficult case to make. This is tougher than Breece Hall. This is tougher maybe than any of the other cases you might present me with, because the case has to be made that Cleveland was not just a product. Well, we saw last Saturday, all those tackles, the sack, the pick, and all the right bounces going his way. We have to make the case. Chad Greenway in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
5-2?
We have to make the case, PA, that was not an aberration or anything other than a product of him playing almost the entire game. And while I root for Lewis Seen, he's fifth in the North when it comes to that safety room. And that's Hitman, it's Cam Bynum, it's Metellus, it's Theo Jackson making plays throughout camp. So I root for Lewis Seen, but I honestly, PA, I cannot make the case that Lewis Seen should be on the 53 at this moment.
Okay, now, you want the good news or the bad news involving the Friday Football Feast co-host? Let's begin with the good news. Paul Charchian is listening to 9 to noon right now.
PA and Charch.
The bad news is that if he's listening to it, he's still in his car. Which means he he has not entered the property and joined the Great Minnesota Club together. Charchie, thank you. The tail is wagging the dog to begin 9 to noon.
Which could be the bad news portion of it as well.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. With the tail wagging the dog, can we make a case for the Philadelphia Eagles to get to the Super Bowl?
I think we absolutely can. What happened on the back end of last year was a complete malfunction of minds and ideas, and just a complete laydown by a team that's as talented as anybody in the NFL. The bounce back. Kellen Moore, in his offensive coordinating career, has led 2 number 1 offenses in the NFL. So Kellen Moore, maybe not a future head coach anytime soon, but in terms of offenses, you give him the talent, and he did it with Zach and CD and those guys in Dallas. Now he's up in Philly. I think that's an instant change. You saw yesterday as well, they just traded for Jahan Dotson of the Washington Commanders. So they're 3 deep. They're putting the Philly Burger King locations are going to make 3 deep posters of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson. They get Saquon Barkley. They have a little bit of an O-line question. They're moving on from an HOF center in Jason Kelsey.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it, again, the coordinators, the carousel of it, as we were in Carousel Park, the Vic Fangio edition, and then you look at whether it is Quinion Mitchell, it is Cooper DeJean, and Fangio's historic throughout his career has shown an ability to turn dust into gold when it comes to defenses. Incredibly talented coordinator, incredibly talented team. I think they're instantly a bounce back, instantly in the mix among the favorites of the NFC.
And don't forget big play Slay, Darius Slay. Nordo mentioned the Philadelphia Eagles traded with Washington yesterday, and they got a wide receiver named Jahan Dotson. He's pretty good, but we have steam. They made that move to secure a third-round pick because they're trying to run down Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, my gosh.
Which might help McCaffrey's usage in 2024.
Indeed.
Previously trying to make a case for Breece.
Tail wagging dog. Can we make a case for the Minnesota Twins winning the American League Central? They're back home taking on the Redbirds this evening. Kyle Gibson go crazy. Can we make a case for the Minnesota Twins winning the American League Central?
Do you have faith in Mr. Festa? Do you have faith in Zebby?
No.
And that is where the problem lies. They're just 2 games back, and Cleveland has been tripping a lot, PA, since the All-Star break. And the Minnesota Twins, if you're looking for things that you can put in your back pocket on the back end of the regular season, Carlos Correa, I believe, will be back at some point. Byron Buxton should be back at some point. This has also been an opportunity for the Twins to run offense and score runs in lieu of 2 of their big-timers. I'm having really a massive problem right now figuring out how the Kansas City Royals continue to not go away.
Right.
And Bobby Witt Jr. improving his MVP case in the American League by the day. Tough schedule down the stretch for the Cleveland Guardians. We have 4 in Cleveland, I think sometime next month. That's going to tell the story. And but it's absolutely a coin flip for me in terms of the Twins running them down because it's 9 to noon and we sell hope like they sell hope at these games at the Carnival.
Yep.
I would say, of course, they'll take down the AL Central down the stretch.
We are KFAN's Carnies, so metaphorically speaking, it fits beautifully. Beat the Cardinals, let's say 2 of 3. Some would say you have meatloaf them. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Others would say it's a twin killing. And lastly, can we make a case for a rookie kicker, Will Reichard, maybe missing a kick once in a while in practice or hopefully not a game, maybe missing a kick so around the league people will actually consider our rookie kicker mortal because he's fantastic.
Will Reichard's unbelievable, and at this stage, it's tough to consider him a mere mortal, and this makes us feel uncomfortable as Vikings fans, having true faith in a kicker that in the clutchest of spots will send us through. Some of us know all too well about having to hope for kicking to go the right way inside those uprights.
Wind chill minus 30, College Stadium. All you got to do is make a 27-yard field goal, and you're heading to Glendale, Arizona. But anyway,
I'm all in on this Reichard cat. It's unbelievable. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen from the pads and from the fact that he looks 12, but it's an absolute boomer off his leg every single time. I can't make the case that he's a mere mortal. I can make the case that Vikings fans should be incredibly excited that they may have found a franchise guy, a franchise leg in the Covenant in 2024.
Sports, sports, sports. Yes, our whole lives are sports.
There we go, Paul!
This is 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN from the Great Minnesota Get Together, and courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes one of the great defensive players in the history of Minnesota Vikings football. Chad Greenway will join us shortly, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits. Nordo produces. Brett Blakemore guides the great ship Love Covenant from the 651 Carpets Plus studios. And I'm Paul Allen. Let's have a good time at the fair today. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be right back.
If you want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, you can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Just let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply. Come join us at the 2024 Minnesota State Fair live from Carousel Park, presented by Mesh, Besher, and Spence. We'll be broadcasting live through Labor Day. Come buy your favorite fan merch. Learn about your shot to be the Mesh, Besher, and Spence Rube of the Day. You can win a prize pack. Get full details now. KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 9 to noon show at Carousel Park, adjacent to the grandstand. Chad Greenway, one of the great defensive players in the history of Minnesota Vikings football, for he was of the tackling machine variety, and this is a mild shocker. Okay, now it's not like you haven't amplified, aided, and or assisted 9 to noon at the State Fair before. But the last time we texted about radio-related business, I didn't think we were going to see you until Buffalo Wild Wings Oakdale, right in front of the Giants game. So this is a radio-related blessing. Thank you and good morning.
And good morning. Great to be here. Great to be back. Man, I missed you guys.
Missed
you both
too,
got
man.
better looking. You look good. Had a good
thank
summer. It's just one of those things. Every Friday I was traveling for here, traveling for there, kids everywhere, all sorts of stuff going on, and fun to be back. And actually, our oldest turned 17 yesterday, which seems mind-blowing. And we are celebrating at the State Fair today, so family's on their way.
I got you.
So it kind of made sense.
That's cool. Are they listening right now?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well,
they don't think we're that important, unfortunately.
In case
is it going to rain? That's really the only question. It's a perfect cloud cover. You're not going to get too hot.
What do I look like? Paul Douglas? I'm Paul Allen.
Pull up
I'm
that
not
radar.
Paul Douglas. I have no idea. All right. Well, just in case the girls are listening, given the Greenways are of the athletic variety and have a basketball bent to their acumen, to their prowess, that is. Will Caitlin Clark finish as the greatest player in the history of the WNBA?
Listen, massive fan, obviously a Hawkeye. Shout out.
I love her too.
Unbelievable. I was communicating back and forth with Caitlin. We got a chance to know her pretty well over the last 4 years when she was in Iowa City.
Really?
She's been great to my girls.
Wow. So does that mean 10% 9 to noon inclusion at some point?
Yeah, I think we have to.
Oh,
yeah.
Lordy.
Right?
I don't even know if I'll be able to talk to her.
That'd be big, right?
Well, that'd be crazy.
But the thing about it is I reached out to her and just explained how impressive she's been in handling all the energy, all the noise, all the outside impact that she's having in a game that she's literally changing the game as we speak, along with several other girls that have come into that league.
Yeah.
And I think the league's starting to figure it out, but she certainly is carrying the torch.
Yeah.
And how she's handled the media and the questions and the back and forth and some of the social stuff and some of the racial stuff that people are just drumming up on their own. She's just, boom, I'm out. I'm here to play hoops. I want my teammates and love my teammates, and it's been awesome. So
I thought the thuggery of running into her purposely and just doing all the dumb stuff was done until they beat Seattle the other night.
Yep.
And your girl Skylar Diggins Smith, Skylar Diggins. I can't remember the last part of it. But Caitlin crossed over on her. Game's about over, and so she's walking away, and Skylar just runs up and bumps her out of nowhere. I'm like, I thought that stuff was over.
I think that's good for the game. I think at the end of the day we love rivalries. We love the back and forth. I mean, it makes you tune in. It brings some energy to the game that's different than just, hey, I'm going to go watch a basketball game. What's going to happen? It's at the end of the day, you have to remember they're entertainers.
Yeah.
And she's fun to watch because you don't know what she's going to do next. It's not the normal bring it up, run the offense. It's I might pull from 25 and she might make that thing 6-7 times a game.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, statistically, what she's already done is incredible. And she's now comfortable. She's now got a break, the Olympic break.
Yeah.
And they did her a favor by not putting her on the Olympic team.
Yeah, but they almost messed the whole thing up. They were
almost took that L, and they need a point guard, by the way,
right?
Game.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go up and down the roster, and the narrative is Caitlin and Angel Reese will have plenty of time to play in Olympics. Well, you hadn't lost, but you hadn't missed out on a gold since '92. Yep. And okay, you got the money, and I'm racetrack raised. It doesn't matter how you get to the winner's circle, as long as we get there, we're getting our pictures taken, and everybody's cashing bets. So they got to the winner's circle, and they were able to win it by a very, very small margin, 1 point, right?
1 point, yeah.
Right. But then you look at
by about 3 inches when Gabby Williams moved her foot back 3 inches, it'd have been a tie.
You look at some play. I kind of I'm not a big rant guy, but like it's something came up the other day where I was like, you know what? I'm thinking back to it was ridiculous that she or Angel Reese were not on this team. You know?
Yeah. And you look at the criticism. I agree, but then you're like, okay, we love Cheryl Reeve. We love what she's done with the Lynx. She's kind of in charge of that group. Like, you don't want to criticize too much without knowing the ins and outs of all that thing. But the reality was if you watch that game, basketball is they struggled to find a point guard that would get them either some opportunistic looks in transition, because when we got to transition when Ionescu came in off the bench, we got the ball going quicker. We got back in that game, and then they went back to Brianna Stewart running the one to slow things down, and the French came back. And it's like, you need Caitlin with pace and energy and to spread the floor. To me, she would have made us a 10, 15-point winner, but we won. But point being is they did her a favor because now she's recovered.
Yeah.
She went from NCAA season to draft to WNBA season. kind of did really well leading up to the All-Star or the Olympic break, and now she's fresh.
Yeah.
And now she's a problem.
And you could see it against Seattle the other night.
You can see it.
I mean, she was lickety-split.
And here she comes, and I think that team is figuring it out. I'm not saying they're going to go win the title this year, but to answer your question, I think she'd be the best WNBA player of all time, or at least be in the conversation.
And how cool was this? I mean, it's not like we're rooting against the United States women's Olympic basketball team, but they had that friendly, that exhibition against the whatever you call the team with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
WNBA All-Stars.
WNBA All-Stars. Right. Yeah, I mean, they got whooped, and they tried. I mean, it's like it was laissez-faire for a minute, but then they're like, all right, let's push the button and go. They couldn't get by them. And a galvanizing fact out of that game that I really, really enjoyed was Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark just kind of coming together here. Like I did the face wave thing, and we got the bumping here and some trash talking by you there. Let's just put it in the rearview mirror and go out and beat these ladies.
That's a professional. That's a professional's game. They move past it and say, because a lot of the conversation is not them, it's everybody else. It's the noise that's looking down on the league, and they have their own conversations and own world they're living in, and I was a part of that, where like you hear all the media talk and all the scrutiny and all these this and that and all these narratives that are drummed up, but what's real in the league and what's real in the team is different. And like you said, they put that in the rearview mirror and said, let's go get this dub.
Yeah.
And why are you
complimenting each other? And Angel Reese is talking about, wow, I mean, I played against her and I've seen her and I know she's good at this, but holy cow, she throws people open better than anybody I've been with.
100%. Yeah, she would benefit a lot from playing with Caitlin.
Chad Greenway and Paul Allen awaiting the arrival of Paul Charchian.
What an L.
Go-ho. Nah, not really.
Is he on the cruise or something?
I don't understand.
Too early for that, is it?
No, there are no ripped up ACLs of game-changing running backs to make a record 2-2. I don't understand what happened today with initials. I didn't listen closely enough, but there were like two full versions of it. He took part in the early one or something. He'll be here when he gets here. But you're here, and that's really all that matters at this moment. Now, when it comes to the Great Minnesota Get-Together, Chad is Mount Vernon, South Dakota native and is one of the great players in the history of Iowa Hawkeyes football. We all know that. So therefore, I would imagine the South Dakota State Fair and or the one in Des Moines you've attended. How do they compare to this?
This is on another planet.
Really?
On another planet.
Even from Iowa?
I've actually never been to the Iowa State Fair, but I saw some attendance stuff from Iowa. They were celebrating some number. I'm like, we do that like by noon.
Yeah.
And that's cute, but no, we like this thing's unbelievable. And I went to the South Dakota one several times. My grandmother was a politician, so I'd go up there and kind of sit in her booth and do that whole thing growing up. It was fun.
Handing out stickers and hats.
And out stickers, hats, T-shirts. Elect Alaska, let's go. And it's just on another scale. This thing is just different. The food's different. I love obviously going back to the ag and seeing the cattle and seeing all the guys that are doing the 4-H and the FFA and all the fun stuff that I grew up doing. And then you go, then the kids want to go to the Midway, and I want to just absolutely take an L and go drink 7 beers or 7 Grey Ducks while they're at the Midway, because I don't like the Midway. Parents can all give me a clap on that.
Why don't you like the Midway?
Well, because it's $700.
Yeah.
Ride 6 rides. God bless them.
But it humbles you because you're one of the most competitive people and people are ever going to meet. You win at everything. You're good at everything, except when it comes to getting that big fat panda. You just can't get the softball in the jug.
I get the panda, but I got 800 pandas at home, and I don't need another panda.
That's the best.
And I can't beat my kids in the basketball shots. That thing sucks too. It's kind of broke now, but yeah, the Midway, just an L.
Nobody better. He's Chad Greenway, Grey Duck Vodka, Grey Duck Spirits. When we return, Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, is going to wear a microphone on the sideline during the entire third quarter of tomorrow's preseason game against Philadelphia. And I want to get some of Chad Greenway's thoughts on that when we return to the Great Minnesota Get-Together on KFAN.
Wolves fans, single game tickets for the 24-25 Timberwolves season are on sale now. Purchase single game tickets at timberwolves.com/single, timberwolves.com/single.
All right, whatever it is, get it off your chest, Paul Charchian.
All right, so
It's a yearly occurrence, and it's an accept. We accept each other for the positives, the quirks, and the negatives. This is somewhere in between the quirk and the negative, but it's best for 9 to noon, and for those in the fan stands, presented by Mesh Besher and Spence, to just let him get this off his chest right now. Go ahead.
So, Chad Abbott, nice enough to tell me he's got a parking pass for me, and he's got tickets to get in the fair. That's great.
Okay.
Now, every other year in which I've had a parking pass, it's been a media pass. So I get the envelope with the parking pass and all the other stuff. So I go to media parking.
Yeah.
Whip out the pass. Like, this is not a media pass.
Wow.
This is a general public pass.
Yeah.
So okay, I've just worked an hour to get to the media parking.
Yeah.
Nope, not going to work. So now I got to turn around and get in line.
You took a middle management L.
Yeah, you passed 700 open spots on the way to get to that lot.
Right, because I want to get the media parking is
because you're so cheap.
It's free.
Let's get the genesis.
No.
Yes.
It's free and it's close. Right? So
An argument, Nordo, that does not involve us.
It's free and it's close.
What's wrong with both of those
you
things?
made the decision based off of money, and it cost you half an hour. Now the whole radio show's ruined.
So
Thanks,
now,
Charch.
and me not being on the radio show did ruin it for sure. So then I got to get out of the media parking area, and now I got to get back in line for the public parking, which I do. Lot full.
Uh-oh.
So now I got to cobble together plan C,
Right.
get out of the public parking line, and I found some company that's selling spots for $20.
Yeah.
Off the south side?
Yep. Yep.
Good luck expensing that.
How's your blood pressure?
Yeah, good luck expensing that. Blood pressure high right now.
You'll be told if you expense that, somebody might lose a job.
280 over 360.
Just sell another company, Charch. You're fine.
So then, I got to park in remote lot 76 of this company, a million miles away.
Yeah.
Me and Scott Fish. So then, that's not the end of the hassle. Now, I got to go through the full screening.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, wow.
And so,
and I know
got
they
the
did that to you.
backpack, I got the computer. Exactly.
Yeah.
They profiled me.
Check the undercarriage.
Armenian. I look Middle Eastern.
Check
right?
the undercarriage.
Right, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So I had to do the full screening.
Hold on. The most recent remarks, or any of them to come, uttered by Paul Charchian, do not reflect the views of yours truly, 9 to Noon Enterprises, all car dealerships that were savaged 23 years ago at AM 1130 KFAN, or iHeartMedia. Continue.
Exactly. Well, that's all true, but that does not apply apparently to the people that are working security for the public gate to get in.
I went main gate, parked in the neighborhoods, helped somebody's family buy groceries.
Oh, that very giving of you.
Yeah, you went to some corporate entity, big shot.
He offered you to park
help the family buy groceries next month.
Yeah,
parked in the neighborhood, walked in main gate. The woman who helped me out couldn't have been nicer. I smoothed right through.
Yeah,
saluted, went by.
Yeah, it sounds very patriotic when you frame it up that way.
Yeah.
So that has been the series of clomps for me. But
but you're here.
We're here now.
By the way, this cup right here, it's a media member donation cup for all the grieving and consternation. If you'd like to leave some change or some dollar bills in here for Paul Charchian to help him get through said turmoil, it's going to be right here. Well, welcome, and it's very very good to see you.
Okay, part of and I probably shouldn't have done it.
Rant.
But on the way in through my public parking, they've got that Miracle of Birth Center right there.
Look, my man's leaving $1. Hey.
Oh, that's great.
I probably shouldn't have just spent 20 minutes in the Miracle of Birth Center, but do you know how that stuff works?
I do know how that stuff works.
That's amazing, this whole Miracle of Birth thing.
I've been shoulder deep up in the couch several times.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, the Miracle of Birth is great until they go to college and you got to pay for it. But anyway.
Ain't that the truth? I am very familiar. Dropping my daughter off tomorrow.
Oh my!
School.
Big deal. Absolutely, it is. That's huge.
Yeah, there's already some planned blubbering that I've worked into my schedule tomorrow. I think there's got to be some for the big drop.
Now, is that part just for the dramatics to make her remember that when you dropped her off, it was emotional for her?
The blubbering's not going to be her. She'll be like, get out of here, Dad.
Get out of here. Leave it alone.
It's going to be all me.
Wisconsin, right? Milwaukee?
Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Milwaukee School of Engineering. Awesome. I am excited about that part. I'm excited about the new phase, but yeah, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, you got a hat out of the deal.
Got a hat out of it.
Love it.
That is nice. Look at that. Tried to give $1, got a free hat.
Yep,
Not
exactly.
too shabby.
Right.
Not
Generous.
too shabby.
Grey Duck vodka and Grey Duck spirits. What's going on with the company right now? I mean, baseball season's in full flight. In fact, a month and change to go. You're well represented at Target Field. Football season's around the corner. Friday football feast and all that. What's going on with the business?
Yeah, it's been a great summer. Sales are way up. Minnesota's been taken care of big time. It's been really cool to see. And I think with baseball season, we're big Twins fans because the longer that Grey Duck deck is open, the left field porch is popping. People are coming to fill that spot up. So a lot of Bomba juice is flowing up there, which is so fun. And then obviously we're on the 300 level at U.S. Bank Stadium, which is really cool to be in U.S. Bank. And from retiring and getting in the business world and getting there, it's like a rite of passage. So it's pretty fun. So we had a bunch of new stuff coming this fall. We'll be announcing here in the next couple weeks. So
good for you.
It's just it's a grind as always, but it's fun.
Do you give me just a quick update on the coffee? The coffee drink that you've got with Caribou.
We've now relaunched publicly back into the market, and then now we're entering. It's our first product that's going to go quote unquote national. So we're Pennsylvania to Texas to California. So it's a license agreement with Caribou Coffee. We did that product. It's an excellent product. Spiked nitro cold brew coffee, and go find it. We're in retail stores. We're in a lot of restaurants now too, which is getting it. So golf courses. It's a great get.
Let's slip some of that into PA's thermos.
It needs it today, and Chad knows how I generally make coffee. This is a little on the light side.
I want diesel fuel, and this is
this is not the double espresso with the French roast charge.
No, I would take that in a heartbeat.
Now, Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell, as we mentioned last segment, is going to be kind enough tomorrow. The Vikings have a preseason game tomorrow, noon Central. Final preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles. It could be the Mo show, as in Mo Ibrahim, who signed less than 24 hours ago and might get the lion's share of the carries. Who knows? But Kevin O'Connell is going to be mic'd up on the sideline during the entire third quarter.
Awesome.
Like Justin Jefferson did week one. Harrison Smith did it last week. But in chatting this out a little bit yesterday with the coach, how unbelievable does this sound? Say Jaron Hall, Matt Corral maybe, but Jaron Hall gets to the line of scrimmage. Say he has Malik Knowles over here, Lucky Jackson over here. Kevin is going to tell us repeatedly, here's the play. It's a fade right outside the numbers to Lucky Jackson between 8 and 14 yards, depending on how the corner plays it. And then we're going to watch it. And then if
that's going to be great.
If it connects, can we do this every game? If it goes the other way.
Right.
All right, Kevin, so what's next for Jaron? But how unbelievable is this?
From a fan perspective and from an entertainment standpoint, I mean, this is what fans want. They want to lift the hood, right, and see what's in there and see how it works and see what the quarterback's reads are and get more information. I think that's what everybody wants. I think that's when you listen or watching a broadcast or listen to radio, you want somebody to be able to explain it to you and lay out the picture of in a layman's way where I can enjoy it and take it in. So I think it'll be interesting to see the play calls and how vanilla they're going to be.
Right.
Hand off to the left. He needs to hit the C gap. What's it going to be in a pass play? What's the read? How much can you break it down live?
Yeah.
But KOC's pretty suave, smooth guy. He'll probably be pretty dang good at it. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's something that's different, new, and fresh from an entertainment standpoint.
Absolutely agree. And I'm glad you said that because credit goes publicly to the Vikings media relations, specifically Jeff Anderson, Sam Newton, John Ekstrom, Carly Bonk, Sarah Joram, and so on, is they came up with a bunch of ideas into the season. And one of them was, how about Justin Jefferson the entire third quarter of the first game? Cool. Hitman second. Cool. O'Connell third game. How about Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah the entire second quarter from Cleveland, which was his stop before he got here. And it's been, honestly, it's not only been a highlight of mine calling these preseason games, it's been like that Justin Jefferson third quarter was a career highlight for me, how that whole thing went. And it's just, to think, as I told him yesterday, to think about it into it, just to care enough about it, to think about it into it, specifically where, it can be, society and or workplaces can be quite lazy. But this was intrepid, and this was enterprising. Then the implementation of it, then the execution of it, and it's working. I mean, it was just phenomenal, these ideas they came up with.
Yeah, I think when you look at like what entertainment has tried to do, interviewing coaches in between quarters or at timeouts at halftime of basketball games, getting kind of the ins and outs of the emotion. It's not really what the words are, but it's the emotion of the moment. Like you give up an 8-point run in basketball, so the coach is hot. They want to go talk to their team, but they got to do this interview, and they get a little short. It's like you get the energy of the building from when you're under the hood, you're in the locker room, you're in the huddle, and I think this is a great way to do it now. To take it into the regular season when real bullets are flying
ain't happening.
It's not like I can tell you from that standpoint is like it's a different energy, different vibe, and a different pressure.
It's
to
a
be
different
like
level of constipation by them.
And am I going to go in and be like, all of a sudden, what are you giving up? What are you giving up to other people because they're listening to it, they're watching it, they're taking, they're stealing. Like
he won't even do a play call on the air. So I'm like, okay, well, with all these keywords that you would know 1,000 times more about than us, it's like they're for every play call, even in the preseason, there's a key formational word that's going to be used in the regular season. So he's like, I think I'll pass on the play call.
Yeah, I mean, think back to when they started putting mics on the referees or umpires in the middle of the play. And what that meant was you could always hear the center's calls.
Yeah.
So we watched, we would only watch those. We would watch all of our film, but we'd watch that at the end, or if we're building a rush package based off of the communication of the center, and you couldn't get that before because you couldn't get the audio. All of a sudden, now you're playing the Browns in week 2, and you have all the information from week 1 and preseason of what his calls are. So if he's going to do protections, what language is he using, and then what do they do off that language, and then you can build a scheme around it to beat it. And then all of a sudden, it was so funny. We were in Jacksonville actually, and they were god awful, but they had figured out that we were doing that. And when we adjusted, they adjusted
back. That's what I was going to
cat and mouse. But then we hit somebody in the side of the head. We get the turnover, and we won. It's one of those things. It's a next level part because in this league, every advantage, every inch is fought for.
Wow.
So you can't give that up. You just can't do it. Fun in the preseason, let's have a good time. But when the bullets are flying and wins matter,
you're dead right.
Jobs are on the line every moment. Like it's not. They're not going to give that up.
Yeah, Bertie.
The fact that Kevin O'Connell's willing to do this. It's awesome. I mean, I think 9 out of 10 coaches would just say, no, I'm not going to be mic'd up for a quarter of a
Zimmer handled that
game.
one.
Yeah, right. Zimmer, right. No chance Zimmer would have done it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Saying no would have been a zero-risk move. Nobody expects your head coach to be mic'd up for a quarter, but Kevin O'Connell's willing to do that. And when you look at how well, these have all gone, but especially the Justin Jefferson one, it was amazing television and radio. Just seeing Justin and hearing him long form for an entire quarter, hearing his reaction to the big plays and JJ McCarthy slinging the ball was as much fun as I can remember having in a preseason game.
Same. Just understand the business part of football and what makes it tick. Like we all, they're making a lot of money, salary caps are going up, and streaming rights are going up, and TV is going crazy. Well, it's because people want more. Well, what more can we give them?
Yeah.
And a lot of coaches that aren't as progressive of thinkers in that way would say, no, shut down. I don't want to give up my secrets. But there's more to that than this, right? This is just building the Vikings brand, building likability with these players, and that's really one thing that's nice is when you don't get access to JJ publicly, he's not here doing radio and talking to folks, you get an under-the-hood look of what he's like. And people want more of that. I've been watching the Receiver show on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like you get an idea of how these guys think. And I love how he thinks. I love how he thinks about the game. I love how he answers questions. He's team focused as a really good individual. Not everybody in that Receiver show is the same way.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that he's on our team because of how he thinks. So I think that matters to fan bases.
The fact that JJ seems to be a legitimately really good guy and really well grounded.
You can't fake that, by the way. You can't fake that authenticity that he has, and you can see based off his family and how he responds to them and his parents, and that stuff it's genuine.
And with that, are that or you're not.
And with that Receiver series, I agree. It like Devontae Adams, he has the Moody gene. Join the club. All right, so first part of it, it's like, wow, I love Devontae's unbelievable. Well, they start snapping at people a little bit, start saying some things on the sideline, and am I going to go this entire game with just one target? I mean, he's right, but I mean, he has the Moody gene, which you got to see,
Yeah, yet they win that game. It's like, okay, you can't just take your one and then get the win and move on,
right?
Like, don't even get me started.
No, you're right.
But that's when you talk about what that locker room is like. And Devontae is one of the best and currently one of the best players in the NFL without question. He's very, very good. And I think he's earned that right by how he's worked. But like that just set me completely different opinion now after watching that series because I've been in the locker room with a player like that, and he's excellent. But that doesn't take away the fact that it's all about his numbers.
Yeah.
It's like,
So you still talk to Steph.
That's not careful. That's not just that he's saying he's just a competitor. He wants to do things right. It's like, well, you won, right? You just didn't get your numbers, which means that an individual and selfish act. It's just the way it goes.
And by the way, Adams he's now had 2 giant contracts.
Yeah.
The stats don't really even matter to him or shouldn't matter that much.
Winning
it should be
is
all
all
about
that-
winning.
that's
He got his rookie deal. He got another deal. Then he got re-up by the Raiders. I mean, he's set. It's not like he's playing for the next contract.
Point being is that authenticity, though, that JJ has in that show and like just how he interacts. And you've been around the team so much. How he interacts with equipment, how he interacts with PR, like what's their opinion of him? Because that's who you interact with the most. I can remember giving my retirement speech. It's like you thank all the players and the GM, but the guys that you're in the grunt with every day is Dennis Ryan, the equipment guy.
Yep.
It's
Aaron
it's
Newman,
Tom West,
Adam Groney.
It's just those are the guys that they're your buddies, they're your coworkers, they're the guys at the radio station. That's who you work with every day. And that relationship tells me more than anything about a guy.
So with Justin, this team has got Kirk's gone, and with that, you have an automatic leadership vacuum to some degree because he's your quarterback and he was your veteran, right? And so you take him out of this team. Sam Darnold can't walk in and fill that leadership role yet.
And he's
right?
quiet in the first place.
I think so. And, and Kirk wasn't like super demonstrative, but he still had leadership traits, I think, all over him.
Yeah.
Justin, I think, can and should fill that leadership void left by Kirk. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you look at our basketball team, right, when you have a guy like Ant Edwards who's a young leader who understands how to talk to teammates, how to build up teammates, how to be himself as an individual, but then at end of game interviews when he had 35 points to make it about somebody else. Like that's just the little leadership qualities that he has as a young player. I see a lot of that in JJ, and I think now is the time with this vacuum that's opened up this opportunity to say, hey, this is now your team, right? In more ways than one. We paid you now to be the face of our franchise. You act like the face of our franchise. Now just go out there and do it and be more vocal and hold guys accountable. And like when you see things that aren't getting done the way they need to get done to win, you have to be the one to make that, have that uncomfortable conversation. And I've been that guy, and it's a hard thing to have when you know it's a talented guy on your team. Say you're just not holding up your end. We need more. We got to do it right. We got to show up to practice differently. We got to study. Our study habits have to be better. Those are the little things that leaders have to communicate in that locker room. And people believe him because he's been there, done that.
Yeah, and at a high level. I mean, it helps that Justin Jefferson is arguably the best receiver in the league. So, when he speaks, I think that carries a little more gravity.
Well, it does matter in the NFL that there's a minimum level of ability you have to have in the NFL for people to be like, I believe you. Because you've been there, done that, and seen it. Because if you're just again, you could be a journeyman, you could be sort of a lower level player and be a leader, but you're not going to have folks gravitate to you.
Correct.
But when you're that guy, they'll all gravitate to you.
I think the greatest example of that I've seen, as an ancillary piece to what you do was 2009. I mean, okay, it's Brett Favre, and he's going to the Hall of Fame. But I'll never forget in the Superdome locker room, after the tough L to the Anti-Vike, where Percy Harvin is Rookie of the Year. Sidney Rice in his second year, and he had some high end to him. Adrian Peterson in his third year, former Rookie of the Year. They all grew up watching Brett and really appreciating how Brett played. Well, now he's near the end and he's with them, and he looks older but he's still good, and it was able to mesh the I've always looked up to you with the way you've played. Now I'm with you. You're a leader. And you too, because you were young in your career at that stage too. You were in your fourth year, really third, because you lost your first, where it was the whatever extra can be given, we will give for this man because we don't want to let him down. He's that kind of leader. That's the A-topic example for me.
Yeah, I think it's a in that case it was like the guys earned the right for us to give everything and give more.
Yeah.
And we're not in this situation without him. And I think you want to just turn over that next stone, turn over the rock, watch more film, get yourself prepared, bleed out a little bit more energy into the week to go win this football game because you want it, but you want it for somebody else too, and that's what embodies a team.
And finally here with O'Connell mic'd up on the sideline during the entire third quarter tomorrow. Wes Phillips, the offensive coordinator, will call the entire game like he did last week. Two-parter. Would love to have you stick around for a short segment after 10 if you have time. So Phillips calling the full game at Cleveland, and I think that happens tomorrow. Defensive backs coach Durante Jones called the first half at Cleveland. Mike Saravo, the inside linebackers coach, called the second half. Could be those two tomorrow. Could be defensive line coach Marcus Dixon, along with somebody else calling the defense during the preseason game. Did that happen when you played?
Never.
It's
Never.
like McVay had O'Connell do it one preseason. In my days around it, I just don't ever remember hearing about it.
Well, I think George Edwards and Mike Zimmer were probably the closest example where Zimmer was going to call the plays in the season and he was going to control that, but George would call the game in the preseason and Adam would help, and that was sort of be the communication piece. But you knew it was all trickling down from Zimmer. That'd be the only experience I had, but George has a ton of experience doing that, had a ton of experience doing that. Now goes to regular season and they're all putting the scheme in, but then in the moment, Zimmer was making that call.
Right.
This is something Kevin O'Connell does for his coaches.
Amen.
Letting your coaches call plays is a huge deal.
Huge.
Let me give you an example.
Agreed. Well, let me amplify that for 8 seconds. It's such a big deal that, again, we look at it, or a lot of people look at it like, it's just a preseason game, limited menu. Chatting with Wes Phillips, the offensive coordinator in Cleveland last week, about his level of excitement of putting together a 15 to 20 play call sheet and playing off of it. We set up Kane with the run here. We're going to show this, swing it that way, and it works. We know they're going to play man. We know what we just saw in the joints, and their backups playing man. It ain't great.
Yep.
I think we can get them with Tristan. I think we can get them with Knowles. And then he did. Off his call sheet, he was so excited.
In Cleveland for 4 years, Kevin Stefanski's offensive coordinator was Alex Van Pelt. He had to leave Cleveland to make a lateral move to now be the offensive coordinator with the Patriots because wanted to be a play caller. I mean, just the way you advance your careers, you have to have play calling experience. Really, really important to these guys. And so even though Alex Van Pelt, he goes from a good Cleveland team with a wonderful head coach, and they've been connected for a long time, Van Pelt and Stefanski, to arguably the worst team in the NFL with the Patriots. But play calling's just that important.
And play calling comes down to, can you anticipate what they're going to be into defensively to go make a play this
even with a limited menu in a preseason game. Right?
And it's so important to be able to get that experience to say, it's on you. Not the guy that questioning or wondering or why do you make that call. It's like, it's on you. Like, you want this job eventually. Like, you have to go cut your teeth and do it.
And lastly, with O'Connell on the microphone on the sideline tomorrow, all third quarter, maybe a little early in the fourth. We'll see where the ball is. But I'm curious to see if he can control himself. All right, because last preseason game, Mo Ibrahim may be playing a lot from under the cover of darkness, depending on what running backs are up. But they want to run. Sirianni wants to run. They want to get out of this thing alive and get into the regular season. But, O'Connell is going to be on TV, and this is my offense. So I just wonder if he's going to dial up anything in the third quarter that's going to have a little bit of a regular season feel to it. Maybe a stretch play here, a 9 route there. We'll see.
Yeah, I think he'll keep it pretty vanilla. Yeah. But maybe put a little wrinkle in there just for fun. But love the fact that Ibrahim might get some run. Because I saw him going into his last year, the Gophers, before he got hurt.
Yeah, what a tragedy.
This dude had looked the most like an NFL running back that I'd ever seen in college. He was just unbelievable. Has the injury, and now is trying to find his way. And,
he took a fat L last year.
Yeah,
he's undrafted by the Lions. He played one play on a kick return against the Ravens and dislocated, I think, his knee. And he was done.
Yeah.
One play.
This is a guy that, if he's healthy, is coming into the league as a high for running backs these days pick and getting opportunities.
Yeah, I think where he was in college, had he not suffered the Achilles injury, he would have been a round 2 selection, round 3. I mean,
he's not really fast. I'm not trying to run him down or anything, but he's not really fast.
But there's a niche now, right, for those guys, those earth movers that can go get you a first down, that can go get you touchdowns. That CJ Ham-esque, but a better running back probably, just because he's got more experience than CJ in that way. But just when I saw him, like, what is this? Because he was just an impressive looking kid.
When we return, a final segment with Chad Greenway, middle hour with Paul Charchian. We'll get into some fantasy football related topics and much more. You're listening to 9 to Noon from the Great Minnesota Get Together. We are at Carousel Park. We are KFAN. We are in the shadow of the grandstand. It's 10 o'clock. Good morning.